Hello. Today I'd like to discuss something that was on my mind recently, and that is some sort of way to upend and revolutionize, if you will, the whole web development concept. And before you start throwing rocks and thinking I'm trying to be too egotistical and things like that, I'm really not. I'm just trying to think if we do a little of philosophy here and think about web development as an industry, as a task to perform, as something people do for their business in terms of coming up with websites and stuff, what are they actually trying to do? And if you kind of break it down without too many details on a bigger scope, all they're trying to do is convey some information about their business, about what they do, about who they are to potential and current customers. That's basically it. I mean, if you have a business website, that's essentially why you have a website. So then the next question becomes, okay, so to convey this information, what do you need to do? And people will tell you need to have some images, you need to have information that would be compelling and that would be useful, you need to build your credibility, and depending on the business, all kinds of different things. Like for a restaurant site, you want to have your menu, you want to have pictures of dishes because that's what people like to look at, and so on and so forth. Bottom line is you're trying to convey information to people so they would like it and then they would give you business. With that premise being in place, then what's the best way to do it? And the answer is there is no best way to do it, because you have completely different set of people looking at the website. You might have somebody who loves sushi and somebody else who hates sushi. And so if you're a restaurant, for example, that has a website that shows sushi, the people who hate sushi are not going to be liking almost anything you put on the website. So there's nothing in it for them. So how do you put the content that would be useful for each person that comes to the website? I mean, that's the $1 million question, which has no answer, 1 million or 10 million, because no matter what you do, you're not going to please everybody. As they say, please some people some of the time or some people all the time, but certainly not all the people all the time. And so again, going back to the concept of conveying information, how do you convey information? And with that being said, I should say, then let's move on to the next step, and that is, what do people usually do to obtain information? For example, if somebody comes to you and they need some information, they simply ask you exactly what they're looking for, what they'd like to find out, and you, being the person who knows, but hopefully who knows, would give them the information they're looking for. So they're asking you a question, you're giving them the information or the answer back. Usually that's the case. I mean, if people are not interested in a particular restaurant for any reason at all, why would they go to the website to get any information from the restaurant if they have zero interest? If they would only go if either by accident, which doesn't mean anything, or because they actually are interested in getting something. So now let's dive a little bit deeper into the finding something concept. What are they looking for? Again, we don't know, because different people, different strokes for different folks. So what do we know? Well, we know they're there, and we know what we want them to see, so we can present whatever we want. But again, we're not handling specifics of what this particular visitor to the website wants to know. So then later on in web development, we did our best to come up with the best brochure where we could do, and we added videos, which were very helpful, still are, and we added things like FAQ pages to satisfy the people's need to know certain things that people usually ask for. But the problem with FAQ pages, another problem, and it seems like we have a solution and there is always a problem to go with it. The problem is that if you have too few FAQ items shown, then people don't get their questions answered. If you've got a ton of FAQ questions and answers in place, then they don't want to read them because it's too much reading. So it seems like there is no way to come up with a nice balance unless you specifically ask the person what it is that you want to know, and you tell them exactly what they're looking for as the answer. So how do we go about doing that? On the regular websites, the way we've been using websites up to now, there was no way to do it. The only thing we could do that was kind of approaching it were these human-based chat capabilities, which said that you type in, my name is Oleg, I'm looking for this particular kind of tool, And if it's a website that has one of these chat windows, then somebody on the other end, John, answers saying, okay, Oleg, what kind of tool are you looking for? And I tell them what I'm looking for. They can tell me how much it costs, everything else. So now we have an interaction, a human-like interaction with the website, but it's not really website. You're interacting with the human on the other end. And that's definitely much better than simply having pages that may or may not answer their inquiries and information they need to know. But it's definitely not perfect, because if you think about it, if you have a person manning this thing, number one, they can't do it 24/7 usually. Number two, even if you have multiple people manning it 24/7, then you have a situation where there's only one of them at any one time, unless you have multiple people. And then multiple people obviously would be way too expensive to be able to have everybody sitting there twiddling their thumbs for 5 hours just to get all of a sudden some kind of request saying, tell me about your tools in the 6th hour. I mean, it's not practical. It's not cost effective in any way, shape, or form. It's definitely slightly better for one person to handle these kind of inquiries, as long as not too many of them come in at the same time. But when you're talking about scalability and everything, this thing totally falls on its face. So that's not an answer either. So then people came up with chatbots. And so chatbots were automated things where they would be programmed, and people would be able to go in, type in their question, and if programming was done in such a way where you would know what they're looking for, then we could provide the proper answers. The problem with that approach was that it was very difficult to imagine and think about anything that anybody would ask. So you're only checking for these certain keywords, and a lot of times these keywords don't come in, and they just did a horrible job basically in terms of actual functionality and usability. And so what happens if you have, for example, a situation where you have somebody coming in and they type in a question, and then the thing answers with some gibberish or some kind of completely inept response, and then they ask another question and it does the same thing. People get frustrated, people get irritated, people get mad, and people just don't even want to come to your website anymore. So it becomes a counterproductive tool to deploy on your website. So that doesn't work either, okay? So what is the answer? And I think my basic, very simple concept, it's not anything over-engineered or very complicated, but now with today's technology, something we can implement is what I call a chat site. Instead of a website, you have a chat site. What do I mean by that? I mean that you now have ability to implement a chat bot on your website where people can just go in, type in whatever question they want, and they would get a very coherent and eloquent answer most of the time. We're not talking about hallucinations, we're talking about real answers that would be actually enjoyable to have interaction with, very similar to talking to a human in many ways. So they got the technology to that point. That's number one. Number two, now they have the next step, or the next level, if you will, that now you can do the same thing with voice, where I could actually go to the website, like I'm going to go right now to my website. I'm going to click on this little voice chat bot on the bottom right here. And now we're looking at actually having a discussion with chatbot based on whatever I want to ask him.
Hi, I'm Insight Nexus. I can answer most of your questions about PCS. How can I help you today?
Tell me a little bit about the company, please.
Sure thing. PCS, or Productive Computer Systems, has been around since the late 80s. They specialize in creating custom software solutions for businesses of all sizes. They're known for their innovative approach to IT and their commitment to providing cost-effective solutions. They're a pretty cool company, if I do say so myself. What else can I help you with today?
What are some of the companies they worked with as clients?
PCS has worked with a wide range of companies, from small local businesses to big names like Microsoft and Starbucks.
Okay, what about...
They've also developed solutions.
I got it. Okay, got that. What kind of services do they provide?
You got it. PCS provides a wide range of services, including IT consulting, systems analysis and design, systems development, website development, web applications, digital customer loyalty, customer marketing, IT in a box, and cloud migration. They really do it all. Anything else you'd like to know?
Yeah, can you tell me about this IT in the box service, please?
You bet. Their IT in a box service is like having your own IT department, but for a fraction of the cost. They provide all the IT and internet support you need, so you don't have to worry about hiring and managing your own IT team. It's a great option for small businesses who don't have the resources to have a full-time IT staff. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And who do I need to talk to get some more information if I wanted to speak to somebody, some person in the company?
You're very welcome. The person in charge of PCS is Oleg Moskalensky. He's the founder, CEO, and CTO. He's been in IT for over 4 decades, so he's definitely got the experience. If you're interested in learning more about their services, you can reach out to him directly. Anything else?
Nope. Thanks a lot.
You're most welcome. Is there anything else I can help you with today? I'm always happy to assist.
And these voice chatbots are smart enough and capable enough, and more importantly, trainable on your own data to make sure they know everything, not just about things in general, but also things about specifics about you or your company, obviously to the degree that you want to divulge it. Like, for example, I set up a member of a men's group called Tribal Stoics on LinkedIn, and that particular group does a lot of good stuff. I set up a special chatbot for them that can basically talk about all kinds of stuff related to Stoicism, but I also trained it specifically on that particular organization so they can find out about what the plans are when their meetings occur, what people can expect from them. They have retreats, they have all kinds of special stuff that normally chatbot would know about, but I've trained this particular one so it would. So if you think about it from that perspective, this chatbot, which is intelligent chatbot, can answer just about any questions about anything. Here is an example of another one, which I set up for a Chinese medical clinic. And you can ask them any questions about certain elements and so on and so forth, and it'll give you the answer based on Chinese traditional medicine. Now, that doesn't replace the doctor. I still recommend going to see this doctor if you want to talk about some specifics and things like that. But it will answer a lot of your questions if you're interested to know that you have some sort of situation. Maybe you have high blood pressure and you want to find out, what can Chinese medicine do to help you alleviate high blood pressure. It'll answer it for you. No matter how you word it, it'll answer it for you in an intelligent, eloquent manner, which will leave you thinking, okay, this is useful, this is helpful. And if you actually want to then, make an appointment with the doctor, you can certainly do that. But at least it's helping you, even if it's at 3 o'clock in the morning when everybody's asleep. So then another example, I set up some of these chatbots for B&B, bed and breakfast places. Because if you think about it, usually when you come to a hotel or a bed and breakfast, you have somebody handling the concierge services. They can give you the keys, they can tell you what's going on in the area, where you can go eat, things like that when you go on vacation. Well, it would be nice to have somebody who is exceptionally knowledgeable, because a lot of these people, unfortunately, are not that knowledgeable. I went to one of these resorts and I asked where would be a good place to go fishing. And the answer the lady gave me, who's a concierge actually at the place, this was on Friday. Fred will be back on Tuesday. He's the expert in fishing. You should talk to him. And I'm like, seriously? I mean, I just couldn't believe that she actually said that. But that's how some people handle it. And so with these intelligent chatbots on the websites, all these problems go away. Because A, they're 24/7 up and running. B, they don't require any kind of salaries or dealing with them being sick or on vacation or whatever the reason might be that they're not at work, and they still know everything and they can be taught all kinds of additional stuff, and they're there 24/7 right on your website. Okay? So to me, Chatsite is something that, at least the concept I have right now that I'm going to be setting up for people, would be a single page, web page, that would have a video on it. It would have some sort of heading and, it would look nice and so on and so forth. But basically this link to this voice chatbot would be the main button there. And there may be small navigation bar at the top, because if you have some very different areas of your company that you want to address, then you would have different chatbots set up for different areas of your company. But if it's basically a single type company, like let's say it's a restaurant, you wouldn't even have any categories or anything. You would just have a single page, and you would have this one button people click to be able to go in. And the reason I talk about video is because videos is something that people like, and the idea being that it will be an introduction to that particular website or area of the website. Like in my case, I do IT consulting and development. I do AI consulting and development as well. So this would be a separate area of my website because it's big enough to warrant its own separate space, its own separate chatbot. And at the same time, I have a customer loyalty program that I developed that I also want to put out there as a separate page. And I put together a sophisticated mobile app for fractional ownership industry where any business that runs that kind of organization can track various components of the business, as well as a sophisticated rule-based reservation system. It's very customized. Because of that, I'm going to have these as separate pages, but basically each page will have its own video where I will explain what this particular page or area is all about, kind of introducing people to this particular page, and then they can just click on the button and they can start talking to the chatbot. Now, as I'm not giving them any information beyond just basic welcome and kind of what it's about in a very short form, I'm not giving them anything else other than click on the button and then just talk to it. And so they click on the button and then they go ahead and they start conversing with it. Ask any questions they want. If it's a, for example, bed and breakfast, I was thinking people might want to know, what can I do in this area? I mean, I'm in Leavenworth, Washington. What can I do here? We're here. What can I do in terms of entertainment? I have a family with a couple of kids that are 7 and 9, for example. And so the thing will come back and tell you exactly where you can go and what you can do. Or you say something like, where would be a good place for a brunch? So it comes back and tells you where would be a good place for a brunch. This way, it makes it very easy for your customers to get any and all answers they want, literally in no time, with this level of ease. They just jump on this one page. They don't have to sift through 150 pages. I worked for a few years for a mortgage company. They had a website with 165 pages. Now you tell me who's going to sit and look and read through 165 pages of content. Nobody would. Okay, no, absolutely nobody would. And all they have to do is have one of these pages like I'm describing with this Chatsite concept, where people can ask any questions they want. What kind of loans do you offer? I only have 15% down payment. Can I buy anything with the current rules? I used to be in the Army. Do I get any special discounts? And on and on and on and on. Any and all questions they want can be answered by this one type of setup. And so this way, what are we accomplishing? We're accomplishing providing them, the people who come into the website, with all the information they need based on what they're asking for. So all the information, any and all information they need, they can ask about, number one. Number two, we can eliminate all these zillion pages that nobody's going to read anyway. And I realize we're eliminating that, which means we're eliminating high placement on Google. But I'm hoping that over time, Google will be, number one, smart enough to know that they should be indexing things based on merit, not based on number of pages. And I think they always try to do that as much as they could. And number two is everybody's kind of moving, at least I certainly have, and a lot of my clients, everybody I recommend to have, move off Google in terms of search and into more things like Perplexity and more like ChatGPT search. In other words, the days of Google being the place to go to find information are pretty much semi-dead or dying, which means SEO is dying as well, okay? Because if people don't go to Google anymore, they go to Perplexity and they search for whatever they want, they get their answers, they go from there, SEO becomes irrelevant because we're not looking for links, we're actually looking for answers, which is what Perplexity delivers. Perplexity, ChatGPT search, most of them are moving into the same area. So right now you can actually set up Perplexity as of yesterday to be able to have it as a assistant on your Android phone. And so now I don't even use what I used to be Google for that purpose before on my phone. Now I just use that. And so it gives me the answers, gives me the link, gives me everything I need. Okay? And so we're kind of moving into the area and the world of people asking and getting their answers without clicking on any links or anything like that. They just get their answers. So this chat site approach provides a perfect vehicle for such, because people talk using voice like they normally would, and they get the answers that basically they normally would get from a human, even more so because a lot of humans, like I said, don't even provide them. And that's it. That's the entire simple, yet I think very compelling concept here of how web sites and web pages could be made to be far more useful to the end customer and far more meaningful in terms of what they provide. And that's the name of the game. So that's my concept. If you have any questions or any interest in discussing it further, feel free to leave the comments below. Reach out to me directly, whatever works for you. I'll be happy to talk to you about it. If you're a small business and these ideas resonate with you and you'd like to convert your website to be a chat site, feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to talk to you. Another big benefit of chat sites compared to websites, in addition to providing much more information and capabilities than websites ever could, at the same time, they're less expensive than normally websites would be because there's a lot less work involved in putting them together. There's definitely some work involved, but nowhere near as much as putting together a 160-page website. So the cost is also lower, and I think it's the future. I think that's where everything is going to be going, and it's already going in that direction. As I like to say, online we live, in the future, and I think we do. So with that, thank you, and until next time, I'm Oleg.